The California sun was merciless as it beat down on the Beverly Wilshire's circular driveway, turning the polished hood of Madame Gladys Knight's Bentley Continental into a mirror of white-hot light. The valet had positioned it perfectly beneath the shade of a towering palm, but even that couldn't stop the heat from seeping through the leather interior like a warning. Gladys emerged from the hotel's revolving doors, her Hermes bag slung over one shoulder, her mind already 3 meetings ahead. The foundation luncheon had been a success. $12 million raised in 2 hours. $12 million that would fund scholarships, technology centers, pathways out of poverty for children who looked like she once did. The applause still echoed faintly in her ears, but it felt hollow. It always did. She'd stood at that podium in her custom Saint Laurent suit and watched a room full of wealthy philanthropists congratulate themselves for caring. They'd smiled at her, toasted her vision, and she'd smiled back, playing the role she'd perfected over 25 years, the self-made black billionaire who made success look effortless. But success was never effortless. And lately, Gladys had felt the weight of it pressing down harder than ever. She slid into the driver's seat. She always drove herself when she could, one small rebellion against the gilded cage of her life, and reached for the seat belt. The leather was hot against her palm. She adjusted the rearview mirror, catching a glimpse of her own face. 48 years old, flawless makeup, not a hair out of place. The face of someone in complete control. And then she heard it. "Shut up." The voice was barely above a whisper, small and urgent, coming from directly behind her. Gladys froze, her hand still gripping the seatbelt. Her eyes darted to the rearview mirror, and her breath caught. Crouched in the back seat, half hidden beneath her cashmere throw, was a little black girl. She couldn't have been more than 7, her hair pulled into 2 careful ponytails secured with worn elastic bands. Her eyes, large, dark, ancient in a way that children's eyes should never be, locked onto Gladys's reflection with an intensity that made the California heat feel suddenly cold. "What?" Gladys began, her voice sharp with shock. "Shut up," the girl hissed again, more desperately this time. Her small hands clutched something against her chest, a tablet, Gladys realized, old and scuffed. Please, they're listening. They're always listening. Gladys's heart hammered. Her first instinct was to throw open the door, to call for security, to get this child out of her car immediately. She was Madame Gladys Knight. She did not have strange children hiding in her back seat. She did not have situations she couldn't control, but something stopped her. Maybe it was the girl's posture, not the wild desperation of someone unstable, but the rigid alertness of someone who'd learned to survive by being still, by being invisible. Or maybe it was her eyes, those eyes that had seen too much, calculated too much, understood too much. Gladys's hand moved slowly from the seatbelt to the door handle, then paused. Outside, the valet was helping an elderly couple into a Mercedes. A bellhop rolled a cart of Louis Vuitton luggage past. The world continued in its ordinary way, completely unaware that inside this Bentley, something extraordinary was happening. "Who are you?" Gladys asked, forcing her voice lower, steadier. "Michelle," the girl whispered. "Michelle Gates. And I know who you are, Madam Knight. I know because I've been watching them watch you." The words landed like ice water. Gladys turned slowly in her seat, the leather creaking softly. The girl, Michelle, didn't flinch, didn't look away. She sat there with the poise of someone twice her age, her cheap sneakers not quite touching the floor mat, her faded Disney t-shirt at odds with the Bentley's luxury. "Watching me," Gladys repeated carefully. "Who's watching me?" Michelle shifted slightly, and for the first time, Gladys saw fear flicker across her face. Real fear, the kind that came from knowledge, not imagination. "Your brother," Michelle said, her voice barely audible now. "Mr. Marcus Knight, and that woman who's always with you, Ms. Patricia." The air in the car seemed to thicken. Marcus, her younger brother, the CFO of Knight Industries, the family she had left. Patricia Westcott, her executive assistant for 12 years, the woman who knew every detail of her life, every password, every secret. "That's impossible," Gladys heard herself say, though the conviction was already draining from her voice. Marcus is my brother. Patricia is stealing from you," Michelle interrupted, and there was no childish uncertainty in those words. Only certainty, hard, painful certainty. "They're stealing from you, and they're planning something worse, something that happens on Friday." Friday. The word hung in the air between them. Friday was the board meeting. Friday was the merger vote. Friday was supposed to be the day that secured Knight Industries' future for the next decade. "How do you—" Gladys started, but Michelle cut her off again. "I heard them," the girl said. "At the shelter. Haven House, on Alameda. They came for one of those photo things, you know? Rich people pretending to care." The bitterness in her voice was startling. "But I was in the storage room, and they didn't know I was there. They were talking about you, about Friday, about how you'd never see it coming." Gladys's mind raced. Haven House. She'd been there 6 months ago, maybe more. A visit that Patricia had scheduled, that her PR team had recommended. Show the human side of Madam Knight. Connect with the community. She'd gone, expecting the usual performance, shake hands, take photos, leave. But she remembered lingering, remembered the computer room where children hunched over donated laptops, remembered a little girl with alert eyes teaching herself Python from library books. "You," Gladys breathed. "I remember you. You were learning to code." For the first time, Michelle's expression softened slightly. "You asked me my name. No one ever asks my name. They just take pictures and leave." The memory solidified. Gladys had asked her name, had made a note to follow up, to do something. But then there had been a crisis in Singapore, then the Tokyo launch, then the endless cascade of emergencies that was her life. The note had been buried, forgotten, until now. "Michelle," Gladys said slowly, "why are you telling me this? Why are you in my car?" The girl's grip tightened on the tablet. "Because when my mama was dying, everyone lied. They said she'd be okay. They said there were programs, assistance, ways to help. But there weren't. And when she died, they said I'd be taken care of. But I wasn't." Her voice wavered only slightly. "Adults lie. They lie all the time. But you remembered my name. When you came back to Haven House last month for that coding workshop, you remembered." Gladys had gone back. One Saturday morning, spontaneously, without Patricia scheduling it or cameras documenting it, she'd wanted to see if the children were actually learning, if the computers were being used. And there had been Michelle, more advanced than before, teaching younger kids. "And you asked if I was okay," Michelle continued. "You were the only person who asked, so when I heard them talking about hurting you, I knew I had to warn you. Even if you don't believe me, even if—" "I believe you," Gladys said, and realized with a shock that she did, because in 25 years of building an empire, she'd learned to recognize truth, and this child, hiding in her back seat with a tablet clutched like a weapon, was telling the truth. "Show me," Gladys said. "Show me what you have." Michelle hesitated. "Not here. They might have your car bugged. That's what they said. That they know everywhere you go, everything you say. They laughed about it. A chill ran down Gladys's spine despite the heat. She looked at her Bentley with new eyes. Patricia had arranged all the customizations, all the upgrades, all the security features. Gladys's hand tightened on the steering wheel. For the first time in 25 years, she felt what she'd built slipping away, not to market forces or corporate raiders or the 1,000 visible enemies she'd learned to fight, but to the people closest to her, to family, to trust betrayed. She looked at Michelle in the mirror, 7 years old, homeless, alone, and braver than anyone Gladys had stood beside in a boardroom. "I know a place," Gladys said quietly, starting the engine, "somewhere they won't think to look." As she pulled out of the circular driveway, her eyes caught movement in the rearview mirror. A black SUV with tinted windows, parked 3 cars back. It hadn't been there when she arrived. It pulled into traffic. Behind them, Michelle saw it too. "They know," she whispered. "They know I warned you." Gladys's jaw set. Let them know. Let them follow. She was Madame Gladys Knight. She had built an empire from nothing, had fought every battle they could throw at her. But this time, she wasn't fighting alone. This time, she had something they hadn't counted on. A 7-year-old girl who'd learned that survival meant watching, listening, and speaking truth, no matter how dangerous the silence demanded. And somewhere in the heat-shimmered distance, Friday was waiting. The drive to the marina took 23 minutes, but it felt like hours. Gladys kept her speed steady, her hands loose on the wheel, giving no indication that her entire world was fracturing. The black SUV maintained its distance, 3 cars back, never closer, never farther. Professional surveillance, the kind that cost money. Michelle stayed low in the back seat, silent except for her breathing. Gladys caught glimpses of her in the mirror, small fingers swiping across the tablet screen, checking something, rechecking it. The gestures of someone who trusted only what they could verify. "How long have you been recording them?" Gladys asked, breaking the silence. 2 weeks, Michelle replied. "Since the first time I heard your name, I thought maybe I was wrong, maybe I misunderstood. So I kept going back, kept listening." She paused. "I wasn't wrong." Gladys took the exit toward Marina del Rey, the Pacific stretching blue and endless beyond the warehouses and boat slips. Most people didn't know she kept an office here. A small space above a marine supply shop, bought under an LLC, used for the rare moments when she needed to think without Knight Industries' walls pressing in. "We're almost there," Gladys said. "When we get inside, you're going to play me everything, every recording, everything you know." And then, Michelle's voice was small again, uncertain. "And then," Gladys said, pulling into the narrow alley behind the supply shop, "we figure out how to stop them." She killed the engine. The black SUV rolled past the alley entrance, slowing but not stopping. Gladys waited, counting to 30 before opening her door. The office was up a flight of external stairs, weathered wood that creaked under their feet. Inside it was sparse. A desk, 2 chairs, a window overlooking the marina where sailboats rocked gently in their slips. No cameras, no smart devices, no connections to Knight Industries' network. Michelle stood in the center of the room, still clutching her tablet, looking suddenly very young and very lost. "Sit," Gladys said gently, gesturing to one of the chairs. "We're safe here." "Nowhere's safe," Michelle whispered, but she sat. Gladys pulled her own chair close enough to see the tablet screen when Michelle turned it toward her. "Show me what they said. Show me everything." Michelle's thumb hovered over the play button. "After you hear this, you can't unhear it. You can't pretend you don't know." "I don't pretend," Gladys said. "Not anymore." Michelle pressed play. and Marcus Knight's voice filled the small room, smooth and confident, discussing his sister like she was a problem to be solved rather than a person to be loved. Friday changes everything. By Friday night, Gladys won't be a factor anymore. Gladys closed her eyes, feeling the full weight of betrayal settle into her bones. When she opened them again, Michelle was watching her with those two old eyes. "Now, do you believe me?" the girl asked. "Now," Gladys said quietly, "we build the case that destroys them." The recording played 3 times before Gladys could speak. Each repetition carved the betrayal deeper. Marcus's casual laughter, Patricia's clinical efficiency as she detailed Gladys's deteriorating mental state, the easy way they discussed dismantling everything she'd built. "We need help," Gladys said finally, reaching for her phone. She hesitated, looking at the device like it might bite. "One person I can trust." Dr. Naomi Chen answered on the second ring. "Gladys, it's Friday afternoon. Shouldn't you be? I need you at the Marina office, now. And Naomi, don't tell anyone. Not your assistant, not your partner. No one." 30 minutes later, Naomi stood in the doorway, her forensic accountant's mind already working. She was the only person from Gladys's Berkeley days who'd stayed in her life. Too honest to be corrupted, too brilliant to be fooled. She listened to the recording once. "How long has Marcus had access to the financial systems?" 12 years, full CFO authority. Naomi's expression darkened. "Then we're not looking at a simple hostile takeover. We're looking at systematics, embezzlement with a corporate coup as the exit strategy." She turned to Michelle. "Smart girl. Most adults would have ignored what they heard." Michelle straightened slightly, unused to praise. For 6 hours, they worked. Naomi's laptop illuminated shell companies, offshore accounts, transfers that should have triggered audits but somehow never did. Patricia's access meant she'd been the gatekeeper, ensuring nothing reached Gladys's attention. "Look at this," Naomi said, pointing to a series of transactions. "Marcus has been siphoning funds for 2 years. Small amounts, different accounts, but it adds up to $43 million. Gladys felt sick. "The merger? The documents you were shown aren't the real ones." Naomi pulled up 2 versions side by side. In the real documents, Knight Industries acquires the AI startup. In Marcus's version, control transfers to a holding company, owned by him and... She clicked through corporate filings. Gerald Vance. Board member Gerald Vance? Gladys's voice went cold. "The one who's been so concerned about my well-being?" "The same. Friday's meeting isn't just about the merger. It's about declaring you mentally unfit." Naomi turned the laptop toward Gladys. "Patricia's been documenting incidents. Missed meetings you never missed. Erratic emails you never sent. They've been building a paper trail for months." Michelle spoke up, her voice quiet but certain. "There's more. I saw them meet someone else at Haven House, a doctor. They called him Dr. Reeves." Naomi's fingers flew across the keyboard. "Dr. Martin Reeves, psychiatrist, specializes in competency evaluations." She looked at Gladys. "They've thought of everything." "Not everything," Gladys said. "They didn't think a 7-year-old would be listening." She stood, decision crystallizing. "We have 2 days. We let them think they're winning while we document everything. Can you finish the forensic audit by Thursday night?" "I'll need access to..." "Whatever you need," Gladys interrupted. "Michelle, how would you feel about doing something dangerous?" The girl's eyes lit up with the first real spark of excitement Gladys had seen. "What kind of dangerous?" Gladys's Malibu beach house had 12 rooms, but Michelle gravitated to the smallest, a guest room overlooking the ocean where the sound of waves muffled the silence she wasn't used to. Gladys found her there Tuesday morning, already awake despite the early hour, tablet in hand. "Can't sleep in safe places," Michelle said, without looking up. "In the shelter, you sleep light. Here, it's too quiet." "That'll change," Gladys said, though she wasn't sure if she was reassuring Michelle or herself. Marcus called at 9. "Gladys, where have you been? Patricia said you missed the Monday strategy session." "Needed some space to think," Gladys replied, injecting just enough weariness into her voice. "This merger is overwhelming." "That's what we're worried about." His concern sounded so genuine. "Maybe you should consider taking some time off after Friday. Let the rest of us handle the transition." "Maybe," she said softly, playing the part. "You're probably right." When she hung up, Michelle was watching her. "You're good at pretending. 25 years of boardrooms teaches you how to wear masks." Patricia arrived at noon for the preparation meeting, her arms full of documents. She hugged Gladys with practiced warmth. "You look tired. Are you getting enough rest?" "Just anxious about Friday." "That's natural." Patricia spread papers across the dining table. "Let's review the merger terms one more time. I want to make sure you're completely comfortable." Gladys leaned forward, asking questions, signing where Patricia indicated, all while the pen in her jacket pocket, modified by Naomi with a recording device, captured every word. After Patricia left, Gladys played the recording. Patricia's voice, speaking to someone on the phone. "She's perfect, compliant, uncertain. Reeves will have no trouble with the evaluation." Wednesday brought Gerald Vance to the Malibu house, unannounced. "Just checking in," he said, his smile not reaching his eyes. "The board wants to ensure you're ready for tomorrow's vote." "Tomorrow?" Gladys let confusion color her voice. "I thought the meeting was Friday." Vance's expression flickered. Triumph, quickly masked. "Friday? Yes, my apologies. This merger has all of us turned around." She'd caught him. They were planning something for Thursday, something she wasn't supposed to know about. After he left, Naomi called. "Audit's complete. It's worse than we thought. Marcus hasn't just been stealing. He's been manipulating stock prices, insider trading, using Knight Industries as his personal bank. We have enough to put him away for 20 years. And Patricia? Accessory to everything, plus fraud, identity theft, and corporate espionage." Michelle emerged from her room, where she'd been working on Patricia's secured laptop. Secured meaning nothing to someone who'd taught themselves hacking to survive. "I found the evaluation documents. They're already written. Dr. Reeves signed them yesterday, before he's even met you." Gladys stared at the forged documents, declaring her mentally incompetent. They'd planned every detail, but so had she. That night, as Michelle slept fitfully in the guest room, Gladys stood on the deck overlooking the Pacific. The black SUV was parked down the beach road, headlights off but engine running. Her phone buzzed. "Marcus, big day tomorrow, sis. Get some rest." Tomorrow, Thursday, the day they planned to move before Friday, Gladys texted back. "See you there." She looked toward Michelle's room, then at the ocean, then at the distant lights of the SUV. "Let them come," she whispered to the waves. "We're ready." Thursday, 2:17 a.m. Gladys found Michelle on the beach, knees pulled to her chest, staring at the dark water. The girl didn't turn when Gladys sat beside her in the sand. "Can't sleep," Michelle said. "Keep thinking about what happens after." "After we win? After you don't need me anymore?" Michelle's voice was barely audible over the waves. "After you remember you're a billionaire, and I'm just some shelter kid who hid in your car." Gladys felt something crack open in her chest. Is that what you think? At 4:47 a.m., the security alarm chimed. Camera footage showed someone at the gate, not trying to break in, just standing there, looking up at the house. It's what always happens. People are nice until they're not, until you're inconvenient. Michelle, look at me. Gladys waited until the girl turned. When I was 8 years old, I lived in a car. Not occasionally, every night for 7 months. My mother worked 3 jobs and we still couldn't afford Oakland rent. She'd never told this story, not in any interview, any speech. I learned to be invisible too, to stay quiet, to expect nothing. Michelle's eyes widened. You? Me? And I built Knight Industries by remembering what it felt like to be powerless. But somewhere along the way, I forgot. I got so focused on the empire that I stopped seeing the people. Gladys reached out slowly, giving Michelle time to pull away. She didn't. You reminded me. You, a child who's lost everything. You risked everything to save someone you barely knew. That's not inconvenient. That's extraordinary. So after tomorrow, we talk about making this permanent, if you want. No pressure. But Michelle, I'm not looking for a photo opportunity or a charity case. I'm looking for family. Real family. Michelle was quiet for a long moment. Then, I'd like that. They sat together until the sky began to lighten, planning not just for today, but for after. Sending a message. Time to move you, Gladys said. Naomi's expecting you. As dawn broke, Gladys helped Michelle pack the tablet, the recordings, every piece of evidence. At the door, the girl stopped. What if something goes wrong? What if they won't? Gladys handed her a Knight Industries ID badge, Michelle's photo already embedded. You're family now. This proves it. No matter what happens today, you're not alone anymore. Michelle clutched the badge like a talisman. At Naomi's house, Gladys recorded a video testimony. Insurance if things went wrong. Then she drove to Knight Industries alone, watching the sunrise paint the city gold. Her phone buzzed. Marcus. Ready for today. Patricia. See you at 9. I've prepared everything. Gerald Vance. Looking forward to a productive meeting. Gladys looked at herself in the rearview mirror. Flawless makeup, perfect hair, the mask of Madame Gladys Knight, billionaire, philanthropist, self-made woman. But today, she wasn't wearing a mask. Today, she was going to war. She texted Naomi, "It's time." Then she walked into Knight Industries for the last meeting that would ever look like the old ones. The boardroom felt different at 9:47 a.m., charged, expectant, like the moment before lightning strikes. Gladys entered to find everyone already seated. 8 board members, Marcus at his usual spot, Patricia hovering with her ubiquitous tablet, and Gerald Vance at the far end, positioned like a judge. Gladys, Marcus stood, all warmth. We were getting worried. Just gathering my thoughts, she said, taking her seat at the head of the table. Under it, her hands were steady. The meeting began normally. Quarterly reports, market analysis. Then Marcus leaned forward. Before we discuss the merger, there's a matter we need to address, a difficult matter. He looked pained. Gladys, we're concerned about you. Patricia stood, distributing packets. Over the past 6 months, we've documented troubling behaviors, missed meetings, erratic decisions. Yesterday, you thought today was Friday. I'm recommending an independent evaluation, Gerald Vance added smoothly. For your well-being and the company's protection. Dr. Reeves is waiting outside. The board members looked uncomfortable, but convinced. Gladys saw it happening. Her empire slipping away under the guise of concern. That's thoughtful, Gladys said quietly, but unnecessary. She placed Michelle's tablet on the table. Marcus's expression flickered. "What's that?" "The truth." Gladys pressed play. His voice filled the room. "By Friday night, Gladys won't be a factor anymore. She'll never see it coming." Patricia's voice. "The evaluation's already written. Reeves will rubber stamp it." Gerald Vance. "Once she's out, we split Knight Industries 3 ways." The silence was deafening. "That could be edited." Marcus started. Gladys played the second recording, Patricia's voice from Wednesday. "She's perfect, compliant, uncertain." Then Tuesday's conversation between Marcus and Vance about the offshore accounts. "These are all fabricated," Gerald tried. Gladys projected Naomi's forensic audit onto the screen. Shell companies, embezzled funds, $43 million, stock manipulation. The altered merger documents side by side with the originals. "Dr. Reeves's evaluation, signed yesterday, before he met me." She displayed the forged documents. "Patricia's fabricated behavior reports contradicted by my actual calendar, which she didn't realize was backed up independently." Marcus stood abruptly. We should discuss this privately." The boardroom doors opened. FBI agents entered, led by a woman Gladys had contacted 3 days ago. "Marcus Knight, Patricia Westcott, Gerald Vance, you're under arrest for wire fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy." Patricia broke first. "This was all Marcus. He forced me." "Stop," Marcus hissed. But she didn't stop. Neither did Gerald, both scrambling to blame the other as agents read them their rights. The board sat frozen. Finally, the chairwoman spoke. "Madam Knight, I move for an emergency vote, all in favor of removing the accused from their positions and granting you full authority to proceed with the legitimate merger." 8 hands rose. Unanimous. As her brother was led away in handcuffs, Marcus looked at her with pure hatred. "You were always too soft, too emotional. That's why I knew I could take everything." "You couldn't," Gladys said simply, "because someone you never saw taught me what really matters." Outside, press had gathered. Naomi had leaked just enough to ensure witnesses. Gladys gave a brief statement about corporate betrayal, vigilance, and the courage of whistleblowers. When asked how she discovered the conspiracy, she smiled. Someone brave enough to speak truth to power. An hour later, Gladys pulled into Naomi's driveway. Michelle burst out of the house, running full speed, and Gladys caught her, holding tight. "We won," Gladys whispered. "And I meant what I said. You're not going back to Haven House, unless you want a visit to teach those coding classes." "You remembered?" "I remember everything now. I was so focused on building an empire, I forgot what it was for. You reminded me." They drove to Malibu together, the black SUV finally, blessedly absent from the rearview mirror. On the beach that evening, Michelle asked, "What happens now?" "Now we build something better. Together." 3 months later, Michelle Gates Knight adjusted her new tablet. Not scuffed, not old, but hers, as she sat in the Knight Industries conference room. She was teaching coding to 12 children from Haven House, a new program Gladys had launched. Gladys watched from the doorway, no longer the isolated billionaire, but someone learning that family meant choosing each other, again and again. Michelle looked up, caught her eye, and smiled. And for the first time in 25 years, Gladys Knight felt like she'd finally built something that mattered.